Hello everyone, it's Kay here and I'm here today to do a requested tutorial. Some people have asked me to do a tutorial on the Teepee card, which is this one that I shared a few days ago now on my channel, and several people decided that they quite liked it and would like to see how they're made. So if I show you from the inside as well, it's very straightforward. You do need Velcro dots, you do need some designer paper for decoration, and then something else that pleases you to move the project forward and complete. Now this is the larger size. This is 5" by 5" squared card to make up all the components, but just to show the versatility of this project, this is, and it's very dinky by comparison, I think you can see, this one is 2.5 inches squared. So it really is, I mean, clearly the smaller it is, the less opportunity you have for decoration, bearing in mind that you want it to fold out flat to go in the post, etc, etc. But that is how it would go in the post, and I would strongly recommend putting your Velcro dot on a visible portion, and then as it comes together it's just folded in and the two edges meet to give you the teepee result of the little card. But I did want to share with you how very versatile. Clearly you can make this smaller again, it can be really dinky. For me, because it can only be a card, I think that's a little bit on the small side, unless you were going to make a set of Teepee cards, put them in a box and present them as a gift. This again at 6 by 6 I found a little bit on the large side. It's quite a dominant size, I think, but you know, it's all down to what you look for. So the next size I'm showing for the tutorial purposes is 4" square, which is that. So you need 3 of these to be able to make your Teepee card. Now I've gone ahead for the sake of time and made preparation. This one is a double-sided card, as you can see, which reduces how much work you have to do on them. The priority with these is to make sure that you cut your card really carefully. So having decided on what size you want it to be, you want all of your pieces to be the same size. You then go to your scoreboard and you line it up really carefully. Now how I found it worked for me was to put my little corner into the edge groove there, line it up at the top, and that just seemed to, is that it? That just seemed to make that central score more straightforward. So then you would score down the centre of each piece of the card, so you end up with 3 pieces that are scored, and also you need to burnish. Again, if you've got a good quality card, it's not as important. If, like this, you're using something less I want to say finished, and that's probably the wrong word. This is from the works, and notoriously, unless you score and burnish both sides of this card, it has the tendency to crack, unfortunately. But if you're careful and you take this precaution, it does reduce the likelihood of that occurring. You do need not to be too fierce with your burnishing on these pads. They're great from a GSM point of view. They are really thick and very, very lovely, but I think it's not, if you're a bit heavy-handed with scoring and so on, then it is going to crack. But seemingly, as I say, scoring both sides of the card, folding and burnishing, loosens up the fibres in the card and makes it easier to work with. You then get one piece of your card and put it down in front of you. Now I'm working at this with the card facing me, if that makes sense, because I did have a lady say she got terribly confused because she couldn't see which way I was working. So having said that, you then line up very, very carefully the next piece of card. Now if I show you this way, the line, the score line, is going in a completely different direction. So you line up like so. If I show you on this side it might be easier. So the previous straight edge of the lower square nestles into the diagonal line here of the next square, which is really quite straightforward. Then you'd get your most favoured adhesive. Again, because this is a video, I'm gonna use what I know will dry quite quickly, and I forgot to give you a stage there. It helps if you just mark gently. You can always rub it out with a pencil. That is the line where I want to put my glue to, if that makes sense, because you don't want the legs of your Teepee card to be glued up with nowhere to go. So again, you've got your card like this, you're going to bring it down like a little butterfly, butt it up against the edge of that card, and then gently let that come down without going across that centre score line, and let it settle and dry like so. You do need to be able to keep these folds clear so that as you get to it you can I'm just looking at the size, I think that must be a 5 as well, is it? Oh well, I've done 5 again. Oh well, it doesn't matter. 5 by 5, 4 by 4, it's all as long as it's a square, that's the thing you need to keep in mind most of all. You then take your second piece or third piece of card, beg your pardon, got some glue edges there from the pad, and you just again take this, the diagonal score up to that area, again to that center score line. You can see hopefully that I am leaving a little gap here, and again a mark just to tell you where you need to glue to, and then apply your favourite glue at that point like so, and add this. We bring it in like a plane again, so you're making up this little angular affair like this. I hope this is making sense, and then bring down that flap closest to the card, and it gives you this kind of windmill effect, so that you then have that in front of you. So you've got score lines coming up to the top, which forms the top of your teepee, and this is the leg of your teepee, which is why you have one diamond and then the other two butt up to your card. Now, decorating is another thing that you have to be very careful about, particularly if you want to keep this in a certain sized envelope, or you know you're going to have to buy or make a larger envelope to incorporate this little peak. But you do want it to be flat, so you don't really want anything hanging out over the edges of the other areas. So if you put it together like so, and that is exactly how easy it is, look at where your seam is and then skip one and decorate on the edge, on the next edge, and what you find is this next edge is clear. When you fold out your teepee, it doesn't matter if the edges have gone over, if the edges of your embellishments have gone over. So that said, I've already made a little plan of how I want this little teepee to look. So I'm going to use a couple of sticky pads, just place that underneath my butterfly. I'm not going to wink it or anything. I just want it to, well, for the sake of this video, it's about showing you how it comes together and where best to decorate it. So I'm going to put that one there, about there. So I've got a little bit over the edge here, but not too much, not enough to affect perhaps an envelope. And if it did, then you know you'd probably have to cut that down a little bit. Then I have, let's do that again so I can see where I am. I've got a tiny little plaque here. Now I don't mind if it actually goes over the leg of the teepee a little bit, although it doesn't need to because I can put it below the butterfly. So we'll just pop that one on, and then you could use that to put a name on, or you know, put a little happy birthday or something of that nature. And then when it comes to folding up the teepee, bring the sides together just like that. They want to go that way anyway by virtue of the construction of your little teepee card. And then I think I've got two little hook and eye bits here of the Velcro. I like to lie it down there like that so that I've got a nice clean area to put the, in fact I'll put it on this side to make sure that it doesn't move, and that will then go in the same place. I usually use hot glue just to keep that in place. Gently press that together, and there you have the teepee. Now this again is using double-sided tape. I would go on and put a little bit of decoration here and there, but this is just to show you the basics, to show you the placing of your embellishments for your teepee so that you get it right. You can put a message on the front if you so desire, or you have all this estate inside the card where you could put a formal message in here as long as you scored it in keeping with the base card of your teepee, and you could type out a message and put that in there quite effectively so that it's hidden from view, but you've still got the prettiness and the shape and style of the teepee card to the fore. Now the next one I'm going to share with you is just one that I've made showing you adding the DSP, and I'm just going to check this one. Yeah, it's 5. Okay, so I've got again my 3 pieces of 5x5 card. I've scored them all equally down through the centre. I will burnish lightly, as we've talked about, because I really don't want this splitting either. It just, you know, your teepee edges are the most important thing of all. You want those to be crisp and in a good place. Now I've got my base for my teepee, and that's going to go there. Yep, I'm going to do it this way. Then I am going to add my next piece, and I'm going to mark where I want my glue to go as before. It's all a bit rushed. You clearly would take a lot more time than I am currently. And then you line that up nicely, avoiding that central score line at all costs, because that's important. You want that to be clear to allow for good folding. And then you take your third piece, line it up again, so you have a score line going off to the right, a score line going off to the left, and your central area there clear. Mark again and glue. And you can do all of that. You could put your DSP on before if you wanted to, but I find it just as easy this way because it really does lay flat and isn't about to give you any trouble. Now clearly you would remove all your pencil lines and so on once you'd got it where you want it to be, but I'm folding this over anyway. So now you see my central diamond, and then these are the sides. What I then did was took some 4x4, three 4x4 squares of some designer paper, and I've then gone on and scored them down the centre, and I don't know if this is going to work now because of direction, but it is very, very fluid, this paper anyway. Do check your direction as you do this, because it may mean that you need to cut them all out separately if it is very, very directional. It's almost kinder to keep a very freely decorated card or designer paper so that you don't have the worry of lining everything up. But I'm actually not too terribly worried, because as you can see, the writing here goes in different directions anyway. I'm then just adding my glue and adding this onto the framework of the Teepee card, like so. Yeah, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, thankfully. I didn't think about that. I have got some... Is that a better one to show there? Yeah, I think we'll have that one there. I've not inked around the edges. I would normally do that, but again, this is a very forgiving card, and you do have the opportunity to go back and do all of this prior to putting your little Teepee card together. Now the DSP squares, I've cut at 4 3/4 to allow for that gap around the card to show off the craft card through the design. That one's going to go there. Yep, that's going to work for me. It doesn't matter if it's upside down or wibbly wobbly, because it's meant to look like scattered papers. So hopefully that will work in this instant. That then goes on there like that. Trying to get those edges nicely equal as far as you're able. And so that's how that looks. Now I'm going to bring that up like I showed you before, because that will go around there, and I'm going to count from my seam 1, 2. So this area is where my embellishment will go, and all I've got here is a little tag with "Happiness is handmade," and I shall raise that up on the little pop things here and place that on that square. Now I will go on to decorate more. I'd like to see a little bit of lace on this one. I'd like to ink stain all around the papers so that it looks a little bit more polished, if you like. You then close up again. I'm going to put my Velcro dot on in exactly the same way as I did before. So I've got my hook and my little fluffy bit there. I'm going to bring that around because that's the way I want it to go. You might want it to go the other way. It's entirely up to you. I will put it this time on this side so that I can take it across and just line it up really, really nicely. Now I've got my little bit of ribbon here. There's my little sentiment and embellishment. If you want to, you can go that step further, and using bits of your DSP, you would just line this up, and it is so easy. Just pop a little bit of glue on the foot there, allowing for the fact that you do want a bit of a border. Line it up carefully. I always mark as best I can. I'm going to just cut up through there and pray that it's not too wiggly. And then put that onto the foot of the Teepee card. It's not got the same border as everything else, but I'm working by eye, and you know, it would have been nice to have taken a bit more time with that, but it still works. You've got the foot covered, and then you can do exactly the same thing on the other side. Take it up, mark it there-ish, and cut across the diagonal, roughly speaking. I probably want to trim that down a bit. Yes, indeed. It's not the best. My eyes are shocking. They really are. Let's see. Now I'm going to have to cut that again. Don't do as I do. Do as I suggest. That's better. I marked it off very nicely and then ignored my marks. Right. And that's that. And that will go into that little space there, and it just does give you that overall finished effect. But you know, you could put motifs on it, you could decorate with a little bit of glossy accents, you could put lots of wordage on it. The sky is the limit. It really is down to your appreciation of what you're making. Obviously who you're making it for, because that always is so important, to try and make something for someone that you know will enjoy what you're putting together for them, because you use components that they like. It just makes it all work. So I hope that has been helpful. I will be back again. Take care everyone, and thank you for sharing this time with me. Bye bye for now.